And we're going to get this party started. Oh, Minea, you are crazy. So let's inspect. There we go. We will inspect Husher. I'll put it right over here. And let's give him a call. I always like to make sure that the participant is ready before I give them a call. That way I'm not surprising them in the middle of a battle. If there is a battle. But for those of you guys that have been asking, we are going to be doing some more Teach Me How-Tos in the future, of course. This week is PvE and Archer. We've already covered a lot of different classes, and you guys can check out the general discussion forums. There's actually a pinned thread in there about the stream today that includes links to all of our past streams. So you can go check those out, too, if you play a different class. All right, so let's call Husher. Hello.
Hello.
So I've given a very small introduction to who you are, and by that I mean I've shown your watermelon and your wonderful horse. So why don't you give us an introduction? Who are you? And you could say how long have you been playing TERA?
Okay, well, I've been playing TERA since closed beta. Always been an archer. I started playing like Lineage 2 way back in the day, and so archers were the elite class back then, and I always wanted to play one because I was melee. And so that was the choice, and I just kept with archer since then.
Very cool. Okay. And I see that you are in the guild Tetris. You are an officer of the guild Tetris. How long have you been in this guild?
Probably a couple months, like before this content came out. We basically reformed after ABHM. The game usually dies down when content is being cleared and whatnot, and then we picked back up and we started making a guild. And so now we're doing like SCHM content, and we're trying to do score runs, and so that's what we're trying to recruit right now is more people to participate in Crusade and do SCHM, do score runs.
Cool. So there's a quick shout out to Tetris if you guys are wanting to join a cool guild. Check them out. That's Tempest Reach. Just to confirm for everybody. So you were talking that you're doing SCHM. Have you cleared all of TERA's content, including some of the old stuff? Have you cleared some of the older content?
I've done all content except for DS. That's kind of just like my personal boycott. But I mean, I've run like through DS, but it's pretty much all the same thing and not competing in it yet, so haven't cleared to level 20.
Okay, fair enough. So let's talk about the archer then. Obviously, that's what we're here. That's what we're here to showcase. The archer. Oh yeah, like the action shot. It's looking good. If you could describe the archer, I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people understand what an archer is. But if you could describe the archer, oh, I'm getting some boobs in my shot. I'm gonna There we go. That's better. If you could describe the archer in maybe one sentence or a couple sentences and really sell the class, what would you say?
I think that archer in general is the most fluid class in the game. You're always moving and adjusting based on your skills like empowerment or pushback or realigning for back damage and whatnot. But I think overall it's a very versatile class. It does have few drawbacks. For example, like you don't have double iframe or whatnot. But I think overall it's probably the most mobile class in the game. Yeah, I think it's my favorite. I wouldn't change my character. So.
Cool. Okay. So we're gonna kind of briefly go through gear, and for those of you guys that wanted to, maybe I'll take a screenshot of your gear a little bit later. That way we can upload it to the YouTube video when that goes up. But for people who are wanting to look at the gear, I'll slowly go through it, and we don't really need to talk too much about roles. I know that's one of the things that I think some people are a little, not really bored by, but it's just it seems like there's a lot more information that we should get to other than this. So I'm going to quickly go through the just the rolls on the gear. If there's anything you wanted to call out specifically, maybe something that you feel should be rolled differently, feel free to call that out now.
Well, I mean, it's pretty standard. Most classes will always go crit power and then attack speed, and your rolls should always be like your 6% flat, your enrage, your behind damage, then enrage crit, and then your crit modifier. That's pretty standard across all of the characters. I don't know anyone that would pick something different. Maybe cooldown reduction for berserkers, but that's pretty standard. And then for armor rolls, 6% flat, enrage, frontal damage. Those are the ones that you want. Those are the ones that are going to prevent the most damage. And for people that are getting hit from behind, if the frontal might not be the best for you, I would go with the HP increase if that's the case.
Very good. Okay. And I see Rain of Arrows taken on here. Is there ever a situation where you would not take Rain of Arrows as the roll on the chest?
You know what? Honestly, I've been considering switching to Pen Arrow. Prior to this patch, like where we got buffed, ROA was about 30 to 32% of your damage, probably somewhere in there. And then now Pen Arrow is bumped up a lot just because of the buffs that we've got, and then the cooldown reduction. The fact that you're casting it twice as much, I think there is the potential for a lot more benefit of getting the pen damage.
Okay. I'm almost done showing all the pieces we're on the briefs, and then I'm going to show the brooch here. So talking about the crystals, and let me make sure I do the Mr. Moobot is going to share the glyphs as well for people. But talking about the crystals, I see you have a fair amount of the blue crystals in here. If, let's say, for a newer player maybe reaching 65 for the first time, likely not going to be able to afford to get these right off the bat, what would you recommend as green crystals in this spot? Is there potentially a different setup that you would have here?
It really depends on what you're doing. So if you're doing like a standard boss that has the minion rages within the fight and whatnot, then I would go with a focus, a savage, carving, and a bitter. I don't know if they renamed carving or not, but if you're not doing a fight that has enrage, for example, second boss of SC, then you would want to change out that focus, because the focus is enrage damage, to maybe something like a pounding.
Okay. So pretty much we'd be using the same crystals, even with a lower quality.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like even leveling, if you're not getting around to the back to get the back damage modifiers from the crystals, then maybe I would go with a double pounding instead of a bitter for leveling. But really, there's no change. I would never give up my savage. I would never give up my carving.
Okay. And I see keen in all 4 accessory slots. And that makes sense. Don't think we need to really go into too much detail. So I see 4 hardies. Obviously, this is just damage from monsters. Would you swap this out in other fights, potentially?
Okay, so in score runs, for example, if you are permanently enraging the boss, so you've got a lance in a party or whatnot, and you're going full enrage, and he's enraged all the time, I would probably swap out for poise, because you get a higher ratio for defense. So that would be the only situation that I would take those off. Being that they're both monsters and bosses, now there's no need to be swapping anything out. And again, for PvP, it would be completely different, right? Because you're not attacking monsters or anything, so that would be different. But for PvE, it would absolutely hardy.
Okay. And just and we can kind of touch on that as well. Definitely, this is for PvE guys. So for those of you out there talking about different PvP stuff, certainly we have other streams for that one. But we want to focus on PvE because there's so much to talk about with each class that we want to separate them and have an expert on each piece. So I am going to make sure that the glyphs are shared. Let me make sure that the command is working for that. And was there anything in the glyphs that you shared? I see that there's 2. There's the main set and then a stun glyph set. Was there anything particular that you wanted to share with these before I just kind of asked some questions on them?
I think they're all damage dealing for the main set. Things that are going to increase your damage as a damage dealer, that's your prime responsibility. So armor, defense, none of that matters. Unless that's a specific requirement of a fight, which is why there's the second set for stuns. So for example, for double ghosts and SCHM, you need that extra stun to hold the ghosts in place so you can get the DPS in. But beyond that, your role is DPS, that's what you should be building.
So for a player fresh hitting 65, maybe they only have Idonial, would you recommend they stick just primarily with that main glyph set, or is there potentially some swapping that you'd recommend they do?
I would stick with the primary glyph set. Again, like, sometimes you've got situational fights, like maybe you're in vault or something, or soloing BAM, so maybe you might take a duration on close quarters. But for the most part, I don't think, like, any dungeon running or any normal PvE content, you're just going to go with that main set.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about, and if anybody has questions on gear, crystals, that kind of stuff, and you have a question for Husher, we can handle that a little bit later as well. We want to kind of get through some of the meat before we start getting into those details as well. So let's talk about the way that a player should be approaching PvE content as an archer. So basically what we want to start off with is what kind of mentality should they have for positioning?
Okay, so for positioning, you wherever you are, when you're dealing damage, you need to be from the back. So if you're out in front of the boss, you might want to choose to do ROA because of the barrage changes. But in terms of just general damage, all your damage from your armor lines, from your weapon lines, from your crystals, all of that is back damage. So if you're not behind the boss, you're not utilizing that DPS. So if you're not in place, you're probably losing half, if not 60-70% of your damage, just because you're attacking from the front. So it's absolutely terrible if you're sitting in front of the boss, auto-shotting, you're not doing anything at all. You're not participating with the group or doing anything.
Okay, so just making sure that they're kind of keeping a swivel on the back side of the boss then.
Yeah, and using your breakaway bolt or backstep and using those creatively to get yourself back behind the boss while utilizing breakaway bolts and powered. So using that as much as possible, but not so much that you're going to get killed because you have it on cooldown.
Now, would you say that there is a certain distance that you would recommend an archer stay at? Because a lot of attacks that the archer will do will push them backwards a couple of meters or a handful of meters. What kind of number would you be looking at then?
I would say that the 8 to 10 meter is the death zone. If you either have to commit melee or you commit range, and that's your choice. So prior to the changes that were made this patch, it was absolutely melee. You had no choice, because if you were out in range, you lost 20-30% of your damage right off the top because you're too far out. So anything beyond 10 meters back then was no good. And and of course you don't want to be in the 8 meter range, so you would hug the boss just like the melee, which is, in my opinion, where you should stay. The reason for that is because, first of all, if you're with a priest, your puddle gives you back mana, and that 200 mana for an archer is 3-4 million damage. So that's a big deal. And the other reason is all of the heals, whether it's priest or mystic or whatnot, it's all AoE. So it's circle of healing, which is little. It's immersion, which is it's AoE based on the target that it hits. And then for mystic, it's boomerang, so it's a straight line. So if you're way out at 20 meters and the rest of the DPS is at the base of the boss, or the boss's feet, then you're not getting that heal, and it's a lot of stress on the party to have the entire party spread out to try and heal them.
Okay, so you would recommend that that players as an archer stay in that melee range then, so closer than 8 meters.
Yeah, I would stay under 8 meters for sure.
Okay, cool. So, kind of talking about getting away from positioning, and one of the things that I know I've struggled with as an archer is knowing when to kind of start throwing down all of your damage when you start doing like rain of arrows and charging for like a penetrating shot or something like that. Do you recommend just kind of using those things as soon as they're off cooldown, or is there like a particular time to use them?
It depends on the fight, again, or the timing of the fight is probably the better answer. So you want to have your big cooldowns for Enrage. Depending on the boss, like it's different on every boss. But you know when the boss enrages because his bar will flash red. And I would try and save like your big hits for that. Now with Archer, it's not as stuck in that measure because you have like your skills come off cooldown pretty quick, and it's all heavy hitters. Like regardless of whether you're using penetrating arrow, radiant arrow, thunderbolt, ROA or trap, like they all do similar damage in terms of what you're doing, so it's not as critical. But I would definitely, like, depending on the boss's positioning, for example, maybe we should talk about the ROA changes that happened.
Sure.
So with range and ROA traps, they changed it so now your AoE is not dependent on your location to the boss. So for example, it used to be where you were behind the boss, you would do damage, and it would count as back damage. Now it does not do that. Sorry, I'm just going to answer the chat. Okay, so the big deal is that it doesn't. Rain of Arrows will not do a back crit from the sides if you are behind the boss, and it will only do back damage if the center of ROA is behind the boss's back.
Oh, okay.
So it's hard to maybe grasp, and personally, I'm not really impressed with the change because you're forced into melee, or you're forced to run out into range, and then you end up dying because you're not getting heals from your priest. So it's kind of a work in progress, I think. But so long as that is in place, and depending on where you are, for example, like let's say you're running back to the boss and the boss is facing you. He's probably going to do a secondary soon. It would be safe to do an ROA at that point. You get your back damage, you reposition back to his back, and you're away with pen arrow and back into your normal swing.
Okay. I think it's a lot of it's going to come down to being comfortable and learning the fights. I think in a lot of those cases, I know for me it's difficult when going into a new fight. As an archer, I mean, I'm not a very great archer to begin with, but when I go into these fights, I never really know when to be casting like Rain of Arrows, if I'm going to get hit by something, or if it's a good position for Rain of Arrows and that kind of stuff. So I know I get better over time, and it's as any class, practice makes perfect.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that in terms of just general for all classes, before you cast a skill, you know what the boss is doing. So if he's doing a backswing, or maybe he's going to do a laser, or who knows, whatever he's going to stomp, whatever, know what the boss is going to do for a secondary or primary, whatever he's doing, let him start that animation, and it's scripted. So whatever he's going to do, he's going to do it all out. And so you have that, 0.5 seconds or whatever to cast your spell and then move on to the next thing. And make sure you're safe before casting a spell, or you might get spell locked in ROA and then get one shot.
Cool. All right. Now, we talked a little bit about just positioning for those kinds of fights. I want to kind of go back a little bit to leveling. Now, leveling and doing dungeons and stuff like that, especially once you're at max level and you've got all your glyphs unlocked and stuff, it's a little bit different. For a brand new archer, just starting for the first time, what is some like words of wisdom as a 65 archer that's been playing the game for quite some time? What would you tell a new player?
Well, the first thing is volley is not a AoE spell. It's single target. So if you're fighting monsters, don't think of it as an AoE spell. It's one of your most powerful spells leveling. And it charges pen arrow once you get that glyph. So it just works in concerts with everything else. Yeah, full charge or go home. So don't half charge your stuff. Make sure the bar goes red and flashes, and then you release. the other thing I've noticed is depending on your latency, if you're behind a monster, just wait that I wouldn't say half a second, is less than that, but just wait that second, and then release your spell, and that allows the server to register the fact that you're behind the boss and not still on his side or in front of him, and then you'll get the crit. If you're attacking from the side or whatnot, you're not going to get the, like, you lose, like, whatever I don't know what the percentage is, but you probably lose like half your crit rate if you're attacking from the side or the front, so it's just lost damage.
Okay, that's good. That's definitely good to know. And how about for somebody who just hit 65 for the first time? And I like using 65 wearing Idonial as a good example. It's not difficult to get Ambit or to even move up to Discovery after Ambit, but for somebody who's just a fresh 65, maybe they completed this storyline and they have Idonial, what is a recommendation? And this can be for gear or play style or anything like that. What would you recommend to a brand new archer at 65?
Well, actually, going back to just starting out leveling, something I did when I first started the game is we didn't wear crystals until we probably hit, I don't know, probably 30 spent, because I played in closed beta, so we were 27 running SM, and that's when you started putting on your crystals on and then realizing that, oh, wow, this is like 50% of my damage, and it really is. So I think knowing your crystals and wearing your crystals is really important. Once you hit 60, 65, and you're looking at gear, I think making sure that you have proper rolls on your gear, that's super important. When you're in Idonial, you don't get to roll your gear, you just get what the developer decided was best for you, which, you know, it's okay, it's not great, but it's definitely clearable for current content. And then I guess from queuing and going into dungeons and stuff, making sure you're wearing your basic, and I want to put that in quotes, your basic consumables, which includes your crystals and charms and savagery scrolls. And for archers, I highly suggest using Nostrum.
Very good. Yeah, that was one of the things that's been really, really cool about the new leveling changes that we've got going on right now. The part of the event is, for those new players out there that are watching this for the first time, maybe watching our stream for the first time, well, first, hello. But second, check your mail. You will actually get in here a bunch of messages from, I believe they're from various senders, lore-based senders throughout TERA. That will include crystals, and a lot of them are just kind of like recommended for your level crystals. So whenever you see the little, I'll actually bring it up here. Whenever you see this parcel post has a little number next to it, you can open that up and you can take this stuff out, like right here. You can just take it out and it'll put it right in your inventory, which is pretty cool. So going back to the crystals, when you're leveling up, put your crystals on. That's something that I did for sure. Is I was thinking, crystals, I don't want to manage that. I'll just wait. And it helps. It helps a lot. All right. So talking about the gear once again, one of the things that I didn't go through was the etching. And I saw someone make a mention of it. The health etching on the boots. And I think you also have it on the... I think you have it on the somewhere else.
I have it on both. Yeah, the reason for that is, okay, so grounding prevents the amount of damage that you get. However, if you are taking like a poison damage from Manaya, or you're taking a laser from second boss, it's a static amount. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, how much endurance you have, it doesn't matter. So it's a survivability tactic for me because I'm running a CHM, right? So to survive a laser, having a low HP pool as archer, you want to bump that out. So there's other things too, like in terms of gear on your... Sorry, I changed my key bindings with Thunderbolt and I keep hitting.
It's okay. We're getting some great action shots.
So on my earrings, you'll notice that my Fire Trill has the max HP by 4.5%. You really want that on both earrings, and of course with the cascades and the signets, you're kind of based on RNG luck.
Sure.
So pray to the Sky Shark and hope. But you want to bump your HP for anything that's periodic damage. If you're, for example, PvPing, then endurance might be a better choice, because then you're going to reduce the damage you receive, which might be more for your survivability.
Very good, very good. Okay. We've actually got through a lot of this stuff fairly quickly. So I want to actually bring up a couple of other just sidebar questions then. With the brand new class, the Gunner, a lot of people have been saying Gunner, Archer, which one do I pick because I want to do range damage. Just in your opinion, would you give a kind of a comparison between picking an Archer over a Gunner?
Okay, well, a Gunner is I would have to say that Gunner is more complicated because you have to control your pet. Now I haven't played Gunner, but I've played with people with Gunner, and they do a significant amount of damage. We have one of the top slayers in our guild, and they are comparable to him. Like, it's just, they do so much damage, and they have the same amount of iframes as a warrior. They've got tons of survivability. They get the special where they pop the bubble if they die. So in that respect, I would definitely say Gunner probably has a step up. Being a new class and whatnot is usually imbalanced a little bit just to get people excited and play the class. Or at least that's my opinion. But I don't know, if you look at Gunner is burst damage. If you like a more stable, more consistent damage, then Archer is probably pretty good. There's a lot of nuances, a lot of skill base with Archer. You can any class can auto shot, but I think if you want to get the most out of your Archer, you've got to work for it.
Cool. Okay. What would you say archers excel at then? Like, what would you say archers are the archers the best at something? Because a lot of classes are comparable in a lot of senses, but we could say something like one class is better at control, or one class is better at what have you. But would you say the archers excel at any one particular fashion in PvE?
In PvE, not really. I think there's a lot more benefit from other, like, I mean, if we just look at the base facts, the fact is there's double iframes for most of the classes. I would say that Archer's pretty versatile. If you like to just see big numbers and not see any little numbers, like Reaper might have a lot of little numbers, and Sork will have a lot of little numbers, but Archer will have only big numbers. So that if you like to see big numbers and whatnot, and if you like to be skill tested, Archer's probably pretty good. It's a really neglected class in the community, I think, but I think that might be part of the devs problem. It's been a shunned class since BT hard mode, so I mean, yeah. I mean, it's mobile though. Like, you're always moving. I find it fun. I would never change my class, but I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, a lot of classes excel at maybe one particular thing, but I think saying if you like big numbers, you can play an Archer is a pretty good selling point, because I really like big numbers.
And it's
fun.
like that reason alone, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
No,
that reason alone is why they excel so much in PvP, is because you only have big numbers, you only have big shots. So if you hit somebody from behind and you miss or whatever, like, the next shot's going to kill them anyway, because it's a big number. So that's usually how it works out. Zillion can quote us on that one.
Sure. Right, and I'm going to make sure, guess glyphs. For people that were interested, those are the glyphs in there. We've got a couple other links, which are to the YouTube channel and to your Twitch channel, but we'll share those in a little bit as well. I think we've handled a lot of the kind of basic questions. So what I want to do is, if you don't mind, I want to open it up to chat to ask some questions to you. So for anybody who has a question for Husher or has a question about Archer, feel free to throw them in chat, and we will see if we can read out a couple of these, and we'll handle them. So let's see. Let's see.
Okay, so there you can run a rotation on Archer But what I find is if you're running a rotation, you get stuck in it. And what happens is when you get stuck in it, then you miss your high damage skills. And by high damage skills, I mean your ROA combo. So the big thing is with ROA is certain skills, not all skills, but certain skills will queue behind ROA. You would probably win in a 1v1. I'm terrible at PvP. But anyway, so when you cast ROA, actually before we even go to ROA, let's talk Velix. If you do not have Velix up, you've lost 20% of your damage right off the top. So make sure you have Velix up all the time. You'll see in my glyphs that I've actually glyphed it, and that's just so I don't have to keep casting it over and over, and I can utilize that time for something else. But for ROA, so you would go Velix, ROA, and you would follow it up, and I usually do follow it up with Explosion Trap. Now the reason for that is because it's queued behind ROA, and if you casted it by itself in the middle of a rotation somewhere, or just, you know, off on the spot, you're losing that split-second damage difference, which you're like, oh, it's only a, you know, half a second or a quarter of a second, it doesn't mean anything, but that could be the difference of, you know, 15, 20,000 DPS, if we're talking DPS amounts, right? So it's definitely important, and it also makes it easier for the tank to snap back aggro. So if you pull aggro from the ROA Explosion Trap combo, you're not causing like a 2-hit scenario where you're pulling aggro.
Okay.
After that, I use volley to charge my penetration arrow. I've been considering using the trap, but it's not as fast of a charge, and I also wouldn't get the damage from the volley. And volley can crit for 800,000 damage and whatnot, so I still use volley to charge my penetration arrow. So it's volley, pen, I use RA, go back into a volley, pen, and then follow it up with a thunderbolt. Now you're only going to be able to use thunderbolt every second rotation. A standard rotation is about 15 seconds. And but again, don't get stuck in that, because when ROA comes up with Explosion Trap, you want to use that over top of any of these other skills, because they're like a combined skill almost. It's a combo.
So did you say you start Velix, you start Mark, then Pen Arrow, then ROA? That's
No. It's Velix, ROA, Explosion Trap, volley,
right,
pen, RA, volley, pen, and then Thunderbolt. And the reason you don't do RA and then Thunderbolt is because you need to cancel the animation on Radiant Arrow and on Thunderbolt. And with the salvo cooldown that we got this patch, that should be possible if you're putting a penetration arrow between the skills.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Yeah, someone was asking about the full combo in there too. So probably have to write that one down.
Sure, I can do that.
Well, I mean, we'll highlight that particular portion as well. That's always good for a new player to have a decent idea of a good starting combo to do. I know I love having them. Let me see if I could find some more questions in here as well.
That is a good question. Why do archers have such a high aggro table? For every point of damage I do, or is like 2 points of damage for like a Zerker. Why is that?
Well, in my development experience, I have no idea. That would be something that I'd have to send on over to Bluehole to see if they can answer something like that. But I do not know.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah. Let's see. So someone said, I do have a question. Do you think an archer is better than a slayer in PvE?
No.
Mm.
But that's only because I play with Haborin, and he does some very, very insane DPS. And for when he's doing 500,000 DPS and I'm doing like, 400, you just can't keep up with him. So definitely, I think maybe equally skilled players to skilled players is probably pretty close. I think, honestly, with the patch change, they're all pretty close. I still think Zerker's top, and then you've got Gunners as top, and then I'd probably say Zerker, Gunner, Slayer, and then everything else.
That's fair. Okay. Let's see. I saw, what was the one question? I was trying to find it.
So how do archers do against BAMs? Very well, actually. You just when you're doing against BAMs, I know I had said it earlier in the stream, but using your close quarters. So you want to skill it for duration, and then I think it's like 2 points, or maybe it's 3 points or something. But if you hit the boss, then you have enough time to run around the boss and do your thing. And then when he turns around, you backstep behind him, and then you do your RA, and you just keep doing that over and over and over, and the BAM dies. Like, it's not. I think it goes pretty quick. I think Reaper and Archer are pretty close. The only thing Reaper has on Archer at this point is that they can die and res immediately with full buffs.
And the question that I was wondering actually was about I was going to be talking about BAMs, and you actually went and covered it. So I was looking for it. I thought I was going crazy that I missed the question. Let's see. How much do you overcharge penetrating arrow and radiant arrow?
So first flash, unless I'm running around, or I think that I haven't gotten the server registered based on this is all based on my latency though. So like if you run behind the boss and you have great latency and everything's working, hunky dory, then you might want to release right away. But if you are that's solid red. It flashes at least once. If you're not doing that, then you're losing, I don't know how much damage, but it's a lot. So, for me, if you're running, just keep charging until you're behind the boss. If you don't make it behind the boss, then, at that point, I guess there's a judgment call, because you could release it earlier and potentially start another skill and be behind the boss, and that might be more DPS. But definitely overcharge, absolutely, and release it behind the boss.
Very good. Let's see here.
I never had a problem with BAMs. This is to bubble buns. There was I farmed BAMs way back in the day when I was like level, I don't know, like farming propellers was probably the easiest one. I definitely didn't farm armadillos back in the day, but I would say that double or triple overcharge is a DPS loss. I would agree with Dark Max on that. But definitely you need to make sure that it goes red and flashes.
I really like that name. Bubble Buttons.
I think there was another question up top here. Is there...
Alright, well, while you are looking for that next question, what I'm going to do is give a brief rundown on the way that these giveaways work. So, for those of you guys joining the TERA stream for the first time, we do giveaways on here. We try and do them every time, and we're going to do them today. We are going to do a giveaway of a tetrachromic weapon skin and Prism Pixel sunglasses. They're part of the same giveaway. And we'll do 5 people will receive that. So if you want to participate in the giveaway, it's very easy. All you have to do is be following the channel. In order to follow the channel, you do have to be signed in to Twitch, and then you have to be watching us while the giveaway happens. If you win, you'll receive a message in your Twitch TV inbox, and it will have a code good for what I just mentioned. So if you want to participate in those giveaways, now's the time to hit that follow button. I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Let's see here.
My guild's trying to bait me here. Who's the best player on TR? That would be Habbo. Okay, so Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is an equally skilled spell. Now, prior to patch, the reason nobody used Thunderbolt was, one, because it was like a million years cast time and a million years cooldown. Now with the 45 seconds, you can put your 8 points into it, which you should be able to afford with the glyphs that we got back. And then, raffle's coming, guys. I know it. And then, so then, once you've gotten that all, sorry, what was I talking about? I completely forgot.
The raffle spam got you too.
Raffle spam totally put me off. What was I talking about?
The raffle spam always gets me. It's okay. I'm trying to remember.
You know what, guys? I think that's just fate for raffles.
I think you were talking about the best Slayer on TR again. Who was that?
That was Haborim.
Was it? Okay.
Look, he's got 3 shun. Oh yeah, Thunderbolt. Okay, yes. So the reason for Thunderbolt is because it was. It also has the pushback. So I talked about this earlier, but you need to use salvo, just 1 shot of salvo to cancel your kickback. And the reason for that is here. If we zoom in on my character here, and if I release it, like it throws you back like a solid 3-4 meters, and this is Thunderbolt. It's just as terrible. So any of those kickbacks, if there's like donut going on, or maybe the boss has started to do something you weren't expecting, or anything, you're in PvP and you know you want to get your stuff off fast and get out of there, then you need to cancel those animations, and you do that by 1 shot of salvo. And it'll pull you out of whatever animation you're in. Now, it doesn't work on certain things like Rain of Arrows, you're locked, you're spell locked. But you can do it in Backstep, or can't do it in Breakaway Bolt yet, but supposedly they're changing that. But definitely Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is completely viable now, guys. If you're not using it, you're losing DPS.
Well, I like that question. I always forget to ask this one. What race is best for Archer?
Any DPS class should be Kastanic, and that's for your crit. Kastanic or go home.
I thought it was going to be something else. I didn't think you were going to mention the crit. I thought you were going to be like, everything should be Kastanic because they're awesome, or something like that.
Well, no.
You've won a special place in Manea's heart, if that's the case. Manea is a big-time Kastanic male fan.
So, the other thing with races is, currently, you still have to consider what the other races have in terms of their animations. Ellen, so far, is probably the fastest animation for Archer, but I would still pick crit over that. I guess if you don't have your attack speed up yet, go Ellen, and then race change when you have your attack speed at the full, but I would just stick with Kastanic.
Fair enough.
Okay, so for Gillyglade, I still use full crit crystals, and the reason for that is you get back damage on the crystal itself. And then you just power through the rest of it. My Gillyglades are only like 3 minutes though, so they've always been that way, so it's never been like a epic battle for me. I just go straight to the end and go. I'm on for like 2 days on my alt Archer, and that lasted very shortly because their animation's so slow, you get caught in everything. So I rerolled to Ellen.
But they look so good.
They do look great, but they're I don't know what it is about the character model or how it calculates it on the server or whatever, but it's terrible. I lasted literally probably 2 or 3 days.
What's your opinion on Baraka then?
Hold on, they want to see. Let me just make sure I'm glyphed here. Okay, so this is Thunderbolt. And with the cancellation, it should be super quick. I can't show it again for another minute.
That's okay. I think they were able to see it. See the cancellation. I think you were standing about right here when you did it, so I'll just do a full Thunderbolt pushing you back. It's a long animation. It's
a huge animation, and you want to cancel that. I can do it again in 8 seconds.
Aha!
So, someone asked about Heart Thrust. Okay, I don't know anything about Slayers, but I do know that certain skills on Slayers are currently bugged, and they will do, like, quadruple damage when it bugs out.
Oh.
Which is why they're so good right now.
Was that a question about Archers?
Popo Archers were the thing because of for PvP, they had the fastest and longest range for close quarters. So when they were kicking and stunning people, it was like a game changer to be Popo. That's why you saw so many Popo Archers, and then now they're all race changed.
Aww. What Popo?
Okay, so plus 15 is there's people on my stream as well, sorry. So I'm just loading my thing here. Okay, so for plus 15, it's pretty simple. You plus 12 your generation or your renegade. And And then you go to, what's it called? It's in Haber, okay? You go to Haber, and then you go into, at the north of Haber, there's like a instance zone where you go talk to the blacksmith. It's part of your story quest when you level. And you go in there and you talk to him, and it costs like, I don't remember what it was, I think it was like 2,000 dust, Masterwork Alchemist dust. And then you tell him to awaken your weapon. And then once you awaken your weapon, then you can go ahead and talk to him again, and there's a different option where you can then try enchanting. Now the difference between enchanting your weapon up to 12 is that when you fail from 12 to 15, it will go back down. So you will enchant, and get to 14, and then it'll be back to 12. And that's pretty much how simple it is. So it's a lot of farming for your dust and for your fodder.
Yep. All right. People are asking for your Twitch, and I'll also share your YouTube channel. So we'll do that in a second, because I'm actually going to announce the winners of the giveaway, and then we will do...
It's the raffle, guys!
It's the raffle! No more exclamation point raffle, please. Everybody's done. All right, so the winners are... Let's see if I can actually... see if I can pronounce these. Kalua Slim. What is this one? Ombra Solante? I don't know. What are these names? Ves Velaxio. Best Mop NA. Wow, Best Mop NA. What are these names? I'm taking them all back. And EBZ TERA. Congratulations. You guys have the craziest names. But you've also won the raffle for today. Each of you has received a code that is redeemable for one tetrachromic weapon skin and one pixel or prism pixel sunglass. Pair of prism pixel sunglasses. Done.
That's perfect. It fits with the Tetris theme, I think.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close.
Tetris blocks. When you zoom in and you move around, you get like the Tetris blocks coming off. Yeah.
So I'm going to share the link to your Twitch channel and to your YouTube channel for everybody out there to click and follow on each one to get more. How often do you stream?
Okay, so when I stream SEHM, it is terrible lag. My computer cannot process the threads to, like, it's not latency, it's actually my computer's just not powerful enough to stream at full power. So it's really choppy for me, so I die a lot. So I usually don't stream SEHM unless it's like fun runs. But I do fraps them because that doesn't affect my gameplay at all. So you'll see, like, my skill ability is a lot better on YouTube than it is on stream, and that's simply for the fact. But you'll see, like, if you watch some of my older VODs, like, the entire guild's involved when we start streaming. So I don't know, it's lots of fun, but we do it a lot.
Very good. All right, so, well, I got the Twitch channel and the YouTube channel posted in chat there. I think we're getting close to the end of the stream, so I want to give you the opportunity to give any shout-outs. Obviously, we've shouted out to a particular Slayer, but do you want to talk about anybody else or any other, maybe your guild in general?
Sorry. In terms of shout-outs, like, just all the guys from the guild, like, all the core people, all the new people that have joined Tetris. We definitely want more people to come play with us and do our runs. Zing really wants Wing wants a shout out. So Wing, our Slayer Anonymous here. I definitely want to promote the other archers that are on our server that do very well, such as Tsuna-san, and Popo Grams, who I don't know what his name now. I think it's Goat Grams. And then our guys from MT, so we've got Jellysex and Zillion and Zioli.
Awesome. All right, well, I think it's about time that I'll let you go. I want to thank you for coming on, though. A lot of great information on here, and I'm definitely going to make sure that we get a highlight done for this, sent on over to YouTube, and then we'll try and get a link in there to your Twitch channel and your YouTube channel as well. Any final thoughts before I let you go?
No, thank you for having me, and thanks for everyone for questions. If anyone else does have any other questions, you can always send me a message on Twitch or in game. Always willing to help out people not be noodle archers. That's like my goal in life. And thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on once again, and I'll make sure to get some more links to your YouTube channel. Hopefully, we can get some subscribers on there.
That's awesome.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Bye. All right, guys, that was Husher, as you can see on stream from Guild Tetris. That's on Tempest Reach. Big shout out to them and to her for coming on. Good.